Linda. It is just so great to see you across the seas. I'm sitting here in South Africa and you're across in the States. And I'm just really, really just so honored to have you join me for this chat today. And we're speaking about your upcoming workshop in South Africa next year.
I know. I'm so excited about coming back to South Africa. I just love being there and I look forward to it.
Hmm. You know, when I heard you were coming to South Africa this year, I was just so excited. I think you formed such a cornerstone for a lot of my own training, and it was just so amazing to meet you and to be able to do this today and plan next year. I just love how sometimes these things just flow and happen. Um,
Yes.
so when I was looking through and prepping for today, going through your CV, and please, this is not meant in a weird way. It might sound weird, but I was just like, I would love to just spend some time in the therapy part of your brain and just immerse myself in all those years of experience. So everyone, if you don't know me, my name is Dr. Tanya Defferary. I'm a counseling psychologist in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and with me today is Dr. Linda Homeyer, so all the way from Texas in the United States of America. And she, if you don't know her work, go and Google, because this lady has done some of the most amazing work that I've seen in Sandtray and play therapy. Some of the books, I mean, I was looking through, I have some of them on my bookshelf here, from Sandtray Therapy, a practical manual, and then more recent, I think that's on its fourth edition now. Hey, just come
Yes,
out.
it is. Yes.
And then advanced sandtray therapy, digging deeper into clinical practice, and I mean journals, and yeah. And I saw in just looking at some of your background, sort of starting as a clinical caseworker, so more with working with children, and then slowly going through and eventually becoming a professor at this Texas State University. So, can you tell us a little bit about your, I don't know, your journey and yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a long journey now as I'm getting older. So, but I did start out as a child protective services worker. And so I investigated child abuse and I had children on my caseload that were in foster care. And that's how I first became aware of play therapy. Was children on my caseload were going to play therapy. And I would get the notes from the therapist and I started getting very intrigued and curious about what all that was. And I already had my master's degree in counseling, but just adults. I didn't have any information about working with children. So I got intrigued with that, and one thing led to another. So I quit working for Child Protective Services and went to get my doctorate and studied with Gary Landreth at the University of North Texas. And because I really decided I wanted to really be on the side of helping to heal children and families, and not just simply identifying if abuse had occurred or not occurred. And I just really wanted to lend my energy and my passion towards the healing side of working with distressed
Mm.
families.
Wow. And I mean, that
And
was the
from
start
there,
now.
yeah, so from there, yes, so from there, it was there that I really started also sandtray therapy. Dr. Sue Bratton, which some people might know, she's well known in the field of play therapy and has done a lot of research. She was my professor when I was doing all of my clinical work during my doctoral program.
Wow.
And she encouraged me to do some work in Sandtray. Well, there was back then, a long time ago, there was very little in Sandtray. There was a lot in the stand play Jungian world written,
Mm.
but hardly anything in Sandtray. So we kind of, frankly, made it up as we went along. And then Daniel Sweeney, who co-authors that first Sandtray book with me,
Mm.
he was also there at UNT at the same time. And so we started collaborating and developing and continuing to work and write in the area of Sandtray therapy.
Wow. Oh, Linda, I can just, when you just mention how amazing it must have been. And I'm sure there were different moments, though, moments where you're sitting there. I think, like we all do sometimes, where you're like, okay, what just happened? And then kind of
Yeah.
starting to formulate things and going back and sitting with everyone and going, okay, this seems to have worked. That didn't work.
Exactly. That's exactly it. What's working, what's not.
Okay.
And we were trained at UNT to really work with a lot of different clinical theories.
Mhm.
So we had to select one that most closely fit our value system and our view of human development. So I am Adlerian, or individual psychology,
Okay.
but as a professor was trained to obviously help develop students from all different kinds of clinical perspectives.
Mm.
And so I think that has helped all through my career, has helped broaden how I work with people and how I teach, because I want you to be the best therapist that you are, not to be the best therapist of my style, right? And so that gives me a broader, I think, base for teaching and training and doing supervision.
Mm. Oh, Linda, what you're saying there, I think is just so important. And I think often when we're starting out as therapists, we're kind of just trying to grapple. I can remember as a master student going, please just give me a
Yeah,
toolbox. Like, I just need this thing. And
yeah,
then slowly starting to trust yourself. And I think for you as a person guiding other people to kind of go, okay, this is what I enjoy, but hey, find you. And I think that is what's so amazing. There's so many people out there. And as we know, some stuff works for some people and other stuff, oh, that is just so
exactly.
wonderful.
Right.
L-
Yeah.
There's so many questions going through my brain right now. Which one to hold on to? Okay, well, let's chat about our workshop that's coming up a little bit. Maybe
Okay.
just to let people know what we're planning. So, um, in chatting a bit about what we might be doing, we sort of looked at a title around Sandtray therapy, deepening the experiences for clients and therapists. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people have, as I've noticed around the world, not just in the United States, but as I travel and teach around the world, a lot of them now have a good understanding of the initial sand tray. I have a tray of some kind, I've got a collection of figures. I may or may not use water, but, so they kind of use it in lots of different ways. But what I find is that when we've done our various trainings or wherever people have gotten their training, we have not done a very good job of helping people, clinicians, to identify, why am I doing what I'm doing at this moment in time in the sand tray with this
mm,
particular client, right?
yeah,
And then how do I stop and pause long enough to go deeper,
yes.
to really take that processing of the sand tray and go deeper and really
Mm,
use the benefits of the images and the metaphors and all of the brain stuff we know now with the interaction with the trays and the metaphors. How do I use that to my benefit to help therapy be as effective as possible? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about in those 2 days, and give you a lot of chance to
wow.
practice and play with it, and then
Mm,
also hone in on what is your theory or approach, and how can I really integrate my work in the sand tray that helps my view of what has to happen in therapy happen.
mm,
So more in depth, more experience, and
mm.
hopefully better skills.
It sounds absolutely amazing. And I think you have really identified, and you can see this is what you say when you've been doing supervision for so long. This is where we get stuck. I know this is where I get stuck. You
Mhm.
can, and then sometimes you go, okay, this, what now? And I think it's
Right.
answering that. It's that next step. Um, and yeah, also learning like you to trust ourselves. I think, and I love this part here, the experience for clients and therapists. And I love that you've highlighted the therapist in this as well, because I think the
Mm.
journey is also our journey. It's important for us to look at
Yes.
our journey as well in this. And
Right.
I know whenever I do training, it ends up kind of being 2 days of your own personal work often as
Uh,
well, which is just so
right.
lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk so much about the importance of the therapeutic relationship, and that's the first thing that we have to establish so our clients feel safe and they can do the kind of work they need to do. But when we talk about that, typically as professors or trainers, we're talking about the client and how do we get the client to connect and how do we get the client to engage. And we forget if it's a relationship, I'm half of that. Right? And so what's important for me to be doing, right? And
Mm. Yeah.
this really came home to me when I was first teaching and we were talking about termination and how do we help our client prepare to terminate. And then I realized, I'm not sure I've always prepared very well for me in
Mm.
terminating with the client.
Yeah.
And, and then I've had some really precious play therapy clients that it just hurt my heart so badly to terminate with them. And then I realized I need to start paying more attention to the therapist, me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think that balance is what is so important. And I suppose
Yeah.
that sparks a question. If you could, because I often think just in my own journey as well, if I could go back and tell younger me something that might be important to just know about my journey, what would be something, if you could go back, what would you tell younger
Uh,
you about this journey?
a younger me. Um, that is going to be wonderful and it's going to be fulfilling and it's going to be challenging. It's going to be always learning, always learning. I just came back from a 5-day play therapy conference and where I taught some and attended some and spent a lot of time with wonderful colleagues, but always still learning something, always a new perspective or a new piece of information. So I think I would tell my younger self to trust what you know and enjoy the journey.
Oh,
Just
I love
enjoy
that.
it.
Oh, got goosebumps.
Because
Yeah.
I love doing play therapy and I love doing sit. I just love that deep connection with the client. And then I love when I travel and I get to speak in other countries and have developed then really deep connections with the therapists in those countries who are so excited about providing the best services possible for the families and children in their countries, and we have this mutual desire to just provide for our children and families to have the best lives possible. And to be a
Yeah.
part of being able to do that is just such an honor.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Linda, thank you so much. I am so thrilled to have you coming next year. I cannot wait. So we're going to get behind the scenes planning now.
Okay,
And
good, good.
yeah, we'll chat soon.
All right, I'm packing my suitcase now.
Cheers, Linda. Bye.
All right, bye.